Welcome to Pandora's Awareness Podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. I am your host, Asher, and my co-host today is Queen Lav. And our guest today is Shay. And you're here because we get to talk about failure. And I know Shay got some juicy stuff for us today. So if you're listening out there right now, we get to jump into some of Shay's journey. Shay, if you don't mind telling us where you're hailing from, what you specialize in, how you adding value to the world, and who you're being a hero to.
Perfect. Let's do it. Thank you so much for having me, first of all. I am from San Diego, California. I've lived here for 12 years, and I actually grew up in the Midwest. I'm a Nebraskan originally, and decided it was just a little too cold for me there. So I ventured south and then ventured west. And I've been living here for, like I said, 12 years, met my husband here. Kind of settled down here, got some dogs and all that fun stuff. So got our house here. So yeah, it's home now. And what do I specialize in? So I help midlife women who are struggling with like gut and hormonal imbalances, gut issues galore, and just can't seem to shed some pounds, lose some weight, see results of their workouts despite trying for usually a long time, months, if not years, if not decades in some cases, and they just can't seem to put the puzzle pieces together to make it work for them. So that's kind of my story of who I help. What was the other question?
Who you being a hero to?
Hero to. I don't know that I'm a hero to anybody.
Of
Um,
course you are. Come on, don't sell yourself short now. Wait.
I don't know that I can. I like to think of my clients as heroes, to be honest with you. I like to kind of take them through their journey and be that more of that guide to them. But if I could help inspire somebody, it would be women who like kind of like who I help, right? I really decided, I became a health coach because I love fitness. I loved fitness and I wanted to help people in that realm of moving their bodies in ways that just make them feel good. And then it evolved into nutrition, way deep into nutrition, way deeper than I ever thought I would get into nutrition, and functional healing methods and things like that. And so people who, especially women who are struggling with maybe some chronic symptoms that they just can't seem to get to the root of, or have been told, by their doctors, your lab tests look normal or everything, you look healthy, but they don't feel good. They don't feel healthy. And they feel like, the doctors don't really listen to them. And so what we do is we really help get to the root of the problem through various methods, between everything from functional lab testing to nutrition protocols, supplement protocols, and other advanced therapies that we do to help these clients kind of get their health back. And that's probably who I'd say I would be a hero to, if I can use that term.
Well, Shay, thank you so much for giving us the overview of what you do. I would like us to take step by step all the process. But I would like to start by asking, what's the range of age of the women that you work with? You said mid-age, but 30s, the new 20, 50s, the new 30s. So now I'm confused.
So I typically say like 35 to 55 is really who we help primarily. Are there people who fall outside that range? Absolutely. Yes. We just signed up a woman who's 67 years old who was like, you know what? I know I'm 67, but I don't feel 67 and I don't want to feel 77. So I want to get ahead of the curve, right? So we do work with people. It's not like we're gonna be like, oh, you're 56, you're out. No, that's not what we're gonna do. But I do tend to have people gravitate towards me who are in that age of 35 to 55.
Awesome. So in December 6th, I'll hit the lower limit. I can contact you.
Then you're allowed. Okay. Not until then, though.
Awesome. So when the girls are approaching you, is it mostly because of the way they look or because of health issues?
Probably it's really interesting you ask that. Like you'd think it's because of health issues, but actually I actually see people who are just really frustrated with not being able to lose excess body fat, body weight, and just are really sick of the cycle of trial and error when it comes to, what diet should I eat? What foods should I eat? How much? What type of workouts do I need to do? How to feel, because there's some metabolism things that change as people get older. And so they kind of hit like this, like they kind of hit a wall, if you will. It's somewhere between 35 to 55 typically. And the hormonal shifts happen, and they're like, what used to work is no longer working for me. And they just don't know what to do. And so they try lowering their calories, they try cutting carbohydrates and just being super strict. And then they kind of inevitably fall off that plan. And, real life kind of kicks back in, or they go out to eat, or they go to a party, or they do something. And it's like, oh, yeah, I want the cake at the party. You know what I mean? Like, and then they kind of spiral back, and then they see the scale go up, and then it's like, okay, back to the restriction. And that's why I call it like this cycle of trial and error, or that hamster wheel effect, if you will, of just like trying different things, and nothing seems to work. So what I notice, just back to your question, what I notice is they might come for, I would like to lose some weight, right? Or get more fit and see results of my workouts. Most people are like, they've already been working out, they've been trying, but they're not seeing the physical results of that, the effect. And so that's frustrating. And what we tend to find, maybe they don't realize it, but they have these underlying like gut issues that they thought were just kind of normal, because their doctor kind of was just like, that's, you have IBS, or, all your hormones were in range, and they got them tested maybe, but nothing came back as like, this is what's wrong with you. And so they kind of just felt like, oh, these things that I'm experiencing, these like weekly migraines are normal, or, me sleeping crappy sleep and not being able to wake up feeling like energized is just normal, or, skin issues are just normal. And they're not, they're normalized, right? They're normalized with this big pharma, big food, kind of insurance running the whole game, methods that we have in this country, unfortunately. So that they end up staying kind of like sick, like low grade sick, with these chronic symptoms that never get resolved. And they just think they have to live with those things. And it's actually not true. And I didn't know that. And that's part of my failures that we'll talk about. But I didn't know that until I went back to school for it.
Awesome. I already have a very dear friend in mind who I'm sure she'll love to be your client. And I want us to talk more about the process and what kind of tests do they have to do, and who's reading those tests, the lab tests that you're talking about. However, I would like us to dive in the topic of failures, because you were just telling us how, and it's true, I agree, how in the normal medicine, right, modern medicine, unfortunately, doctors fail a lot of times to pinpoint the real cause of the symptoms. So since that failure of our beloved doctors pop out in the conversation, how about we go to you sharing some of your failures, personally, professionally? I said at the beginning of the show, I know I told you, you don't have to be extremely vulnerable. You can just share small failures. However, Asher was, no, we want the juicy stuff. So
I'll give you, I don't know if you'll consider them juicy, but I guess, I'll give you what I got. There's a few that come to mind. So in terms of failure, I guess like one of the like I always say, like this profession, it chose me. I didn't necessarily choose it. I didn't ever want to, I never had this desire to like learn nutrition, be a nutrition health professional in any regard. I was working in corporate sales, like sales management, working with teams there in like software and technology kind of companies. That's how I started my career. And I kind of got into fitness because I was like, oh, now I'm sitting all the time. I better like, otherwise I started kind of like gaining some weight and I didn't like that. And I started working out. Like I was working out more than I ever was, but yet I never lost any weight. And I was very confused by that. Right. And so kind of failure number one is like, okay, why am I putting in like 6-10 hours per week working out and like nothing is changing? I'm trying to eat healthy, but I like was like always hungry and always thinking about food, always stressing about food, researching, every Monday. I feel like I'd come and I'd sit at my desk at my corporate job and I would be like, okay, why did I screw up so much this weekend? Why could I not stick to my diet plan? Turns out it was like 1,200 calories a day. Nobody's going to stick to that, right? I know that now. But back then in my 20s, I was like, why couldn't I stick to this? I was beating myself up, right? Like literally thinking that I was the problem and I just needed to be better. I needed to be stronger. I needed to have more willpower, more discipline to stick to this because I saw it once in my life. I saw the 1,200 calories a day. It actually worked. I stuck to it. I counted my calories. I did my thing. I even got to have, a little bit of wine and stuff like that in there. And I included that. But then, and I saw the scale go down so quickly. And I thought, I just need to do that. I just need to do that again. And this is where people get stuck. And this is why women are stuck, is because they saw it worked before this. So they think they need to do that again. But what happens when we're dieting down? So that's an aggressive diet. I would consider 1,200 calories a day typically an aggressive diet for someone. Especially like trying to do that for like a long period of time. So for me, someone who's, at least 150 pounds, 5'9", like that's a very small amount of food. And there was just no, like, I couldn't figure out where I was going wrong. So what I do, I tried a different type of diet. I tried paleo. I tried cutting carbs and sugar completely. I ended up in the doctor's office. I ended up having horrible energy issues to where I literally would like fall asleep at my desk almost. I'd take myself to my car after work and have to sleep in my car or just like lay down or rest or something for a second before I drove myself home because I was so depleted of energy because I wasn't eating any carbs because I thought I saw something online that was like, if you want to lose weight, you need to cut your carbs. That's what I read, right? Or keto, like it was before the keto craze actually was like a big thing. Yeah. You guys probably all remember like the keto craze for like 10 years ago. It was before that really it was like low carb, right? Atkins low carb. That was really the terms at the time. So here I am in the doctor's office, no energy, working out every day, trying just like beating my body to death. Under the hood, if you will, gut and hormonal wise, creating a catastrophe without knowing it. All kinds of like bowel issues and just, all kinds of things that I was creating and I didn't know it at the time. And so that created future failures for me. Now I kept on this sort of cycle of trial and error for almost a decade, like 7 or 8 years. And, trying different workout methods. I've literally probably tried every workout method under the sun. And that leads me to kind of like my second failure of like trying all these things, running, trying to run more, trying to do more cardio. In reality, I was just doing all of the wrong things. I was working out so much, eating so little, and just crashing my metabolism and wondering, well, why doesn't this work? It's like I wasn't fueling my body for what my metabolic needs were. I wasn't giving my body the building blocks of nutrients to thrive, just barely survive, right? And so all of these different, internal organ systems are having to kind of make accommodations for this lack of food and nutrients. And it created just a massive problem for me later on with my gut.
I guess, how did you identify that? Or was that through lab work that was done by your doctor?
So kind of moving along the lines of, failures here is I got a coach. I hired a coach. I hired a couple nutrition coaches a while back, thinking, okay, maybe if I figure out like what I actually need from like another professional, I was already a health coach at this time. I was kind of new to it, but I was already kind of like helping clients with just like really good habits and like what foods to eat and prioritize. But this particular person walked me through what's like what we call a reverse diet. And it's a method of being able to bring your calories up to a healthy maintenance level that your body actually really needs. And then that's a range. And everybody has what we call maintenance calories that they need to just maintain their not just body weight, but like organ function and all of your normal like
All
bodily
the tissues, yeah.
all your normal bodily functions, right? And so we went through that. I went from 1,800 calories a day to about 2,500 sometimes. And it completely changed my life. I mean, like dramatically, to where I had, more energy. I had better like body composition, like result. I'm a fitness person. I like to work out. I had better results of my workouts physically, like you could see the difference in my body eating 1,800 to 2,400, like eating more food, but being
Wow.
leaner. And I was like,
Wow.
what? I've been missing this for 8 years. And it was so transformative for me. It helped somewhat with digestion, but not quite. Like I had to dig deeper into that later. And hormonal stuff like probably stopped being so crazy, but like I already had done some damage. So it was basically this process of like kind of healing my metabolism after just like almost a decade of, like just doing horrible stuff to it. And so going through that was the initial step in my journey of like, okay, I needed that person who was not me, who was someone outside of me, to kind of bring in that perspective of like, hey, like this is what you did. This is where it got you. We can't keep doing that. And I was terrified to bring my calories up. Terrified. I thought I was going to balloon up, like who wouldn't? In that case, I was like, I don't want to balloon up. I'm trying to go the opposite direction. It is counterintuitive. If my dog is fat, I lower its, I bring its food down, not up, right? But what happens is just this metabolic adaptation. And so we have to account for that. And I would not have been able to go through this process, I do not think, unless I had that coach. And this coach also introduced me, it was the very first introduction to the lab testing component. Hey, she said things like, you seem to run into a lot of gut and hormonal based issues that might be like holding you back here. It might be like in your way. And I was like, well, doesn't everybody? That was like not on my radar. Because what did my doctor tell me? You have this, you have to live with it, right? Your hormones are fine with these lab tests we did. They're in range. But like I learned that my symptoms were not normal, they were normalized. And so so I really had to I started going down that rabbit hole of like, what are these labs? Like what are we talking about here? And then I started learning, oh, there's this whole world of root cause medicine and healing and functional healing methods and modalities that people can actually resolve a lot of these gut and hormone issues.
Thank you for sharing that with us. It's funny and it is mind-blowing when you told us the story about increasing the calories, because as you said, like, yeah, it adds up. I'll gain weight, but I guess if you also give less calories to your body than needed, it's like your metabolism will freeze. I was like, I have to hold on to whatever I have because there's a scarcity around here. We won't get whatever we need to maintain all the system working in proper order. So yeah, that was interesting. And let's say I'm your new client. How how does the process look like? So obviously I will tell you probably about my habits, but what kind of tests will I have to do, and who will read those tests?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we onboard everyone, and we start literally everyone out with a full metabolic assessment. Like we do a full nutrition assessment for them. We assess kind of the state of their metabolism, what they're eating now, like where their metabolism is kind of sitting, so to speak, now, and what would be the biggest like constraints or blocks to them getting to their goals. And we kind of like to put those in steps, right? So for someone might be like, hey, like I have all of this bloating or something like that, right? Like their gut, like well, for someone like that, we might say, hey, it might make sense for us to run what we call a GI map. It's a stool test that takes a look at your gut microbiome and a bunch of other digestive markers. And so we actually are able to do that in-house. We do that for our clients. We ship off their lab to their house. They do it right from their own home. Everything's cash based, so it's not through like the insurance system, right? We're able to look at this not diagnostically, but more so as like functionally, which means, hey, like this part of your gut looks like it's good, but this part is not, and we need to like create a protocol to help bring that kind of support that a little bit more, right? You might be digesting your fats just fine, but you might have like low pancreatic enzymes that aren't breaking your food down as well. And that can create a sluggish motility. So then you aren't eliminating every day, which is a problem. So it can create bacterial overgrowth and imbalances of different things, and pathogens can be invited in that situation. And so we're looking at all of that stuff. We create a protocol for our clients, like all natural stuff based on food, functional healing methods, supplements, things like that. And we do all of that in-house, and everything is just basically sent to us, and then we send it out to give that to our clients. So there's no needing to go to the doctor unless you just want to. And we would never inhibit anyone from doing that at all, but you don't have to.
Yeah. Do you have your own products? Because you mentioned supplements and maybe other products.
I don't have any of my own personally. I have specific, I'm very picky about brands. So we do use like a particular dispensary, I guess, if you will, and particular practitioner grade supplements to help people depending on what their needs are.
And in average, I mean, I know that everybody is different, and maybe this question might sound stupid, but in average, like how many months would the average person need to, put their gut back on track?
It's a great question, actually. I think you can see maybe some improvements in the first 90 days. I will tell you, it is a wide variety though, right? Some people, they just need to repopulate their microbiome with some good healthy bacteria, and maybe we can do that in 3 to 6 months. But other people might have like an overgrowth or an infection of sorts with parasites and pathogens. And that was my case. And I did a lot of trial and error. We're probably looking at, like at least 12, maybe 24 months in some cases. But most gut healing journeys, I would say that I've heard about, are more in the like 12 to 24 month range.
Wow.
Think about it this way. You can't, it took decades to get here. You can't undo it. And I'll give you a better answer now that I'm thinking about it. It's usually for every year of dysfunction, it's probably at least 1 month of protocol work.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I mean, I wish we had, this possibility to just clap the hands and in a second everything to be fixed, but it's definitely a process. So you say that you can ship the things for example, the stool sample. So your clients can be in different states, right? You can work with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Remotely.
Even certain, I don't have a list off the top of my head or anything like that, but other countries too, certain other countries, and definitely pretty much any state in the United States, we can help with them. And it's not just the the gut test, there's various different tests we use for different reasons, but yes.
All right. So then we went to the lab tests, and then what's next? So what's, the next step?
Yes, on someone's journey. So of course we want to fix like food. We want to address someone's diet because there's a lot of, we'll call it poison in a lot of our food in the United States. And so we want to help people navigate that because it's really confusing, right? What someone might think is eating healthy, it could be like creating like a toxic event, so to speak, in their body. And so we want to help minimize that as much as possible, right? Too many toxins. Like our body is designed to detoxify. It's designed to do that, but too many toxins is too many toxins, and at some point we can't handle the amount. So we want to make sure we bring that toxic burden or that toxic load down through food, water, healthy air. Those are like the kind of three things I like to focus on: food quality, water quality, air quality. Because if we keep kind of retoxifying the body, those are the three ways we typically end up doing that. And if we're always adding more in, we never get anywhere, right? So we have to kind of address those things, and there's various methods there. And looking at even things that like, what are we putting on our bodies? Like what kind of lotions and nail polishes and makeups and fragrances, or what are we cleaning our homes with, right? What chemicals are we inhaling on a daily basis because of these candles that are sitting next to us? Like all of these things are adding to that toxic burden. And like I said, your body can only handle so much. So our goal is to bring that toxic burden down to a manageable level. I don't think we'll ever get to zero unless you live like in the middle of nowhere, no Wi-Fi, no cell, like no nothing. It's very hard to get that completely down in our modern world, but we want to bring it down as much as we can and control what we can control. And so we take our clients through that process of helping them reduce their toxic burden, bring in some supports with different like supplements and foods that will help bring their body back to hopefully homeostasis.
Shay, Lav, do you mind me borrow some of your time today?
No, please, but I do have to say one thing because she mentioned that, and then I'll let you have your question. From the moment I discovered the coconut oil on my skin and the castor oil on my skin, I'm like, I'm not buying no more lotions, body lotions again. And in my head is like, why on earth did I ever, spend my money on all those things that have so many things in it that I don't even know how to pronounce all those ingredients when I can just use this hopefully very naturally cold pressed oil. So yeah.
I love it. Yeah, that's the thing is like if we can use more natural methods, it's not about like you can't ever use lotion again. It's not like you can never have a candle again. Let's just make sure we're using ones that aren't like creating a toxic problem for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Asher, go ahead.
Oh no, wow, lovely. Shay, you are, you know what I noticed about you? Because I want to get to know you a little bit too. When I noticed you are an incredible hand talker. I can see the energy flows. I can understand you better when you get your hands going. I was like, yeah, Shay, let's go. Get it out the way. But you mentioned something earlier too about not normal but normalized. And that was very interesting for me
Yeah.
when you mentioned that piece of it. Not normal but normalized. Like how do you come about that wisdom within yourself?
I don't think I can take credit for that one. I probably saw it somewhere. But within my, like education and trainings and people in our field of functional health modalities and practitioners and doctors and all of these different, people who work in this space, it's kind of like the theme, I guess, like symptoms are not normal, but they're really common. That's the one I heard a lot is they're not normal, but they're common. And to me, that didn't quite click as much as they're not normal, but they are normalized. And normalized to me was just a little bit of a stronger like connection to what was actually happening. So that's why I kind of use that one.
Hmm. And why is this profession so important to you?
So that's a great question. So I struggled with horrible digestive issues since pretty much I was born. And I did not ever understand uh, that was a unique experience for me. I guess I was told even by some family members that like I was making it up, that my stomach didn't actually hurt all the time. I was always dealing with like running to the bathroom, stomach aches, like just various problems. It turned into, once I hit puberty and stuff, like hormonal problems and pain and cramping and just like headaches and all of these different symptoms that I guess just people around me had some version of those. And I think I probably had them a bit worse than like the average like teenager, if you will.
Mm.
I went into college and I think it got exponentially worse. Drinking beer in college, and turns out I've found out here in my 30s that I have a gluten intolerance, and I'm just like taking them down. It's like that did a number on my gut, and it was like it was so embarrassing, and it was one of those things that you keep kind of to yourself, and you try to hide it,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things that I actually talk about like all the digestive parts now. Like I try to like, let's normalize talking about poop because
Yeah.
everybody does it and nobody wants to talk about it. And it was just kind of this thing of like, this is a way we can tell. This is like a sign or like something that we can use as a tool. And what I do as a nutritionist to say, hey, yeah, your diet's working for you or it's not. It's kind of like it's a helpful tool. And people use the same thing with like a woman's menstrual cycle. It's like it's a way for us to see if if you have a easy going period, you're probably pretty good. But if things are not, it's a sign, it's a red flag for me that things are off, and it deserves a further investigation at minimum. So I kind of like call what we do is like health detectives, right? We are trying to discover or investigate what are these potential root causes to these problems. And these evolved for me as I got older and got worse, not better. My skin got worse. And they're like, you're going to grow out of that. Nope, it got worse into my 30s, right? And I'm like, all of these things, like what's going to happen when I'm in my 40s? What's going to happen in my 50s if this is my trajectory? And so I thought, okay, I need to eat better. I need to be more fit and get into fitness. And that's how, and it started with like more of that. But then it evolved to these are the things that are in my way. And um, and I knew I wanted to get to the root because all of the doctors kind of just told me everything looked fine. Everything looked normal. You're healthy. And I'm like, I don't think I am. Like, I don't think I should feel like this all the time. So it got so bad by the time I was in my 30s that I went back to school. I learned more about the body. And like I said, this profession really found me.
Mm.
I love it. I love it. I know you mentioned at one point that you were fooled in a way into the mindset of we have to eliminate carbs. And I understand what you're saying because I do think our diet should be balanced. I guess for each is different, but you should have carbs as well. However, I personally think that there are good carbs and empty carbs. I call them empty carbs. Took the word from somewhere, the expression. And I guess when I'm talking about empty carbs, and I want to ask you about that, I'm thinking about very processed ones like pasta. Delicious. I love pasta. I will always do. But I don't know how many nutrients are in those pasta, and they're very processed. I'm talking about sugar and all the sweets that we bake with that sugar and all this extra sweet coffees that we get every day. What's your opinion on that?
My opinion on carbs. So I would say I like to look at the food we eat and drink, right? Anything we consume in terms of macronutrients, proteins, carbs, and fats. So everything we consume is going to be some combination of protein, carbs, and fats. And some things are higher in protein, some things are higher in fat, and some things are higher in carbs. But some things have like a mixture of all of those things, right? Some things have protein, carbs, and fat all in it, right? Some foods. And so what we do to help kind of our clients through like understanding what's actually going to be a better balance is figuring out how to have the right amounts of each in kind of your daily or weekly nutrition plan, right? So if we have somebody that we onboard and they're eating like a ton of carbohydrates, but really low fat and low protein, like we want to like bring that into balance a little bit more, right? So I don't necessarily look at like I think that there's a priority of like try to eat carbohydrates that grow in the ground as much as possible, right? Or grow on a tree somehow, right? In nature, found in nature. So while potatoes, great, eat them, but maybe potato chips, that's like we're processing those at this point, right? We're adding a lot of times like canola oil and crappy inflammatory, more toxic seed oils that we don't need. Like our body is made from petroleum and it just disgusting things that we don't need to incorporate into our bodies, right? So I like to look at like, fruit is it's grown in the ground, right? It's an intact form. Try to eat more of those kinds of things. It's when we start to add in that like level of processing, that's when things kind of start to get a little dicey. And then you have to, of course, navigate the additives, right? So when we look at processing, there's certain brands of chips that are like avocado oil, potatoes, and salt are the ingredients. Great. That would be a better chip than something that has all these like dyes and preservatives and chemicals that we don't know how to pronounce. Like you guys probably know what I'm talking about. And
Sure.
that's the stuff that I'm trying to like keep people away from because it's creating that toxic burden that just goes up and up and up.
Awesome.
So
Thank you so much.
does that help?
Yes, absolutely. And I would like to ask you where people can find you, but I see Asher. Asher has a question, so go ahead and then we
Oh,
jump.
I
Yeah,
was
we got a few
gonna,
minutes.
no, I know you say you got a time. I was gonna remind Lad that we got with a clock because I know you say you got to
I
get
like 5.
2 minutes.
Yeah, it's
All right,
good.
okay, cool, perfect. So I would want to know, I'm curious to know, like, who are some of your heroes on this journey as far as being some of the people that in your own profession that you consider some of your heroes?
Oh man. Okay. Well, there are various like functional medicine doctors and naturopathic doctors and people that I've learned from. So like my teacher is Reed Davis. He created FDN, the program I went through.
Hmm.
Sinclair Keneally, who is somebody who I've been through some of her advanced programs. Dr. Jess Petros is somebody I follow on Instagram and just love all her content and what she teaches. These people don't necessarily know me, but these are who I follow. Dr. Javen Moore has like really great content. There's so many really high, like quality people that I like to listen to, that really focus on getting to root causes and not just, even some functional medicine doctors will just kind of like do a tit for tat type of like treatment. Oh, you're low on this. Let's like here, you're low on iron. Get more iron. Like it's not always just like that. Like why is the iron low in the first place? Like let's go a little like a layer deeper. And so anyone who's like in that kind of methodology, I absolutely love to listen to.
Hmm. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And I'm thinking when somebody hear you right now, like, well, I know some of those heroes too. But then they figure, well, you know what? I heard Shay today, and I was like, well, Shay is my hero, and I work with you. How can they find you?
Oh, well, you can find me. I probably spend most of my time on my Instagram. So at the Body Bulletin and my blog where I originated kind of like all of this journey, thebodybulletin.com. So I kind of like created that name because it's like a bulletin board, right? Like a bulletin board is like a place you go for some information.
Hmm.
And I like to talk about the body a lot. I have a few resources, like some free resources I can share with your audience as well. So one of the coolest things you can do is just kind of get your food right. So I have a 5-day clean eating challenge. You can go to thebodybulletin.com/clean eating challenge to get started totally free. and I give you a bunch of stuff every single day in email on like how to start kind of shifting your diet a little bit to where I've got people who have lost 5 pounds just doing that in the 5 days. And then I have a masterclass. Thebodybulletin.com/masterclass will teach you like basically how to improve your metabolism and boost your energy and improve the results of your workouts without having to cut those pesky calories and carbs.
Well, thank you so much for
And
that
guys,
giveaway. Yeah.
I'm actually on the website, and we don't really see Shay now much. We see just her pretty face, but man, she's fit and she looks gorgeous. I just see a picture of yours here in shorts. I want to look just like you.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that.
So if I book a call, I will be talking with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can book a call, like go to thebodybulletin.com is the homepage. And I have kind of like a lot of details about my program, kind of my initial program with people. And you can book a call with me. You will talk to me directly. And it can honestly be one of the best, like life-changing hours of your life, because we will go through with you, like what are your goals? What have you tried? Where are you like stuck? And like I'll actually kind of give you a little bit of a roadmap of here's what we can do to kind of bring your body back into balance so it can release fat pretty much naturally and almost feel effortless. Like it's kind of crazy, but I know it sounds too good to be true, but this is the experience we take people through and the framework we have built for our midlife women clients.
All right, thank you so much, Shay. I'll reach out to you on Instagram. I definitely need to put you in contact with my friends who definitely needs your advice. Thank you for
love to talk to them.
Thank you.
And my closing question for you, Shay,
Yes.
what is that one thing or two thing when people do it drive you crazy? Maybe your clients too. I don't know if you want to talk about that part, but just people in general.
What is one or two things that people do that drive me crazy? That's the question. Oh my God. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Be honest with us. Come
They'll
on,
start
Shay.
the
Come on,
diet
Shay. Take your
on
glasses off and
January
be honest
1st.
with us. Get some hand talking going too, Shay. We want to get the hand talking in here too. So we want.
Okay, I could start with this, right? Everyone thinks that they are going to, you know, get healthy and get fit and lose weight and do it. And they think they can do it on their own. But because they're kind of like usually in this mentality of it's my body, I should be able to figure it out, right? You're not going to figure it out because you are not an expert on the body unless you went to school for it. Literally. So it's like if my car broke down, am I going to go try to fix that? Hell no. Like I am going to hire a mechanic who went to school to fix it, right? It's the same kind of concept. People kind of stay stuck in this just like trial and error, and they do it for 20 years, 30 years. I have seen it over and over again. I just talked to a woman in her 60s, and it took her this long to invest in your health. I think it drives me insane that people are willing to spend money on hair and nails and Botox and like all this like decor for their home, but when it comes to their health, they're not willing to invest and they feel like crap. They don't look the way they want to look and they wonder why. And it's like you gotta kind of put your dollars like where it's gonna give you longevity. So it drives me nuts.
Fair enough. Thank you.
That is Shay. I like the way you put the icing on the cake just now because I think people don't understand how important what you just said, just what it is. Because you wake up every day thinking about this stuff every day. You think about this stuff all day long, 10,000, 50,000 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? You're thinking about this stuff, and somebody don't realize that when you think about something long enough, you become an expert at it. And not just going to school, but it's something you work on every day. So that means you got a lot more insight into it. A lot of people think they can do stuff just by doing it. You need help. So that's why you got the coach. And I appreciate you for saying that.
And it doesn't have to be me as your coach, but just go get some help.
Get some help. There we go. Get some help. All right, folks. Any last word live before we close out so we can get Shay back on our clock? Because I know she got
Thanks
enough
so much,
appointment.
Shay. This was awesome. Thank you for sharing all those insights with us.
So fun. Thank you, Alex, for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, Shay. Well, folks, you tuned in to Pandora's Awareness Podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. I'm your host, Asher, with our co-host, Queen Lav, and Shay today just give you dropping gems on you today all day. So what I was take away is not normal, but normalized. I'm stealing that.